someone else over. If not, everybody just flounders at the bottom, and they don't mean nothing. It's nothing against the talent. It's the head. It's the people that's in charge that's able to pull the strings to say, here's what we need to do. That's why I think they need to put and they call them enhancement guys, whatever they want to call them. They need to, in the middle of that 3 hours, when we're bored out of our mind anyway, or people are that's watching it, go in there and put a guy over in 2 minutes strong and let him win with his finish to establish it.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody says, hey, I've seen Joe Smith. I'll give you just a name. I've seen Joe Smith. He won with that move that I haven't really seen before, but I'll tell you one thing. I can beat him and I can break that. You know, you build up to a pyramid of that, of different guys, not just one, but different guys, but establishing people to where, you know, but it's always, it's like I was watching my son Jaron play basketball the other night. I make a great armchair coach sitting in the stands, and I make a great armchair booker sitting in my easy chair watching a wrestling program. But the thing of it is, when the people are voting with their thumbs and low ratings, and they're voting with their feet by not going, there's a problem there when you are virtually not the only act, but you're the lead company in our industry. So say, for example, we are wrestling. I don't care if you're in the storefront on Hamilton Road, and I use that just as an example of a street that you and I know, or if you're at the stadium in Texas Stadium, WrestleMania, we are all still a part of the same industry.
Yes, we are. Small
and large, and all points in between. We love it. That's why you have your program. People wanna. We love this wrestling business. Fabulous Jackie Fargo, the fabulous one in Memphis, he was equivalent to Babe Ruth was. What Babe Ruth meant to baseball, Jackie Fargo at that time in Tennessee was Babe Ruth. There was no pro sports. Think about this. And there was no pro sports. So he told me, he said, Bobby, you can't kill pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. I just seen a thing the other day where there was a newspaper clipping in West Virginia where the wrestlers, this was in the 60s, I think, claimed to be actors to get away from the commission. Mm-hmm. So what Vincent did back then wasn't nothing new. None of it was new. But he's heard it because he just rams it down the people's throat. Listen, Chris, I don't want to go to a magic show and watch Carl Ballantyne mess up every magic trick so that I can see through it. And I don't want to be told when I'm watching that magic show how I'm doing every trick and why it's going on and the trick that I'm going to do upcoming and how I'm going to saw that woman's head off. I don't want to hear about it before. I want to be captured in the moment to say, wow, you know, I mean, and everything. But I don't mean to babble on. I get excited because, listen, I still have the same passion for the business that I had when I was a 6 or 7 year old boy, and I'm 50, be 58 in October, and I still like the wrestling business, you know, and glad I was blessed in it to be a big part, to be a small part in a big industry.
Amen. Couldn't have said any better, man. We're going to take some questions before we let you go. I told you I won't keep you long, so definitely I want to stay true to that, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man. And what do you got planned for WrestleMania before we get into some questions?
WrestleMania.
Yeah, WrestleMania weekend.
Do they still have that event? No. Yeah, no. I you know, I've seen you down in New Orleans, I believe, didn't I?
I think
was you in New Orleans?
I was. We were supposed to meet up, but I don't know what happened. But I was there.
Well, I thought I seen you for. I can't remember, but I knew you was there. I'm not going to do anything with WrestleMania or go to the WrestleCon or anything this year. I'm gonna set it out. But I you know, as far as wrestling events, I got a big event. March the 16th in Chillicothe here at Huntington High School. I got an event in which I got Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Mm-hmm. We got the the Honky Tonk Man. We got me and Ricky Morton's going to be in a tag team match against Shane Douglas and a guy called the Pittsburgh Steeler. We've got the Mouth of South, Jimmy Hart. You know what, Chris, what I've noticed? I mean, I've noticed that people want to go back and, like, say, for example, a guy 30 or 40 will bring his kids to my event and say, this is what I watched growing up. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's a nostalgia type show. And like you talked about, where the heroes are heroes,
yes, sir,
and the villains are bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
But concerning WrestleMania, I don't. But I went and seen it in Texas, but I've never really watched it on television.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things. So, how about you? Are you going to New York City?
Yeah, I'll be there. I do coverage every year. I did coverage last year in New Orleans,
right,
and year before in Orlando.
Right.
And I'll be there in New York. My typical schedule is get there Thursday morning, do coverage for events throughout Thursday and Friday and Saturday,
right,
and then I don't do any coverage on Sunday except for just like some Facebook lives at Mania.
Sure.
But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm like super duper swamped from day to night doing coverage, and it's a thrill. I absolutely love it. It's like the journalism's dream. Doing live interviews, sure, and coverage from all different types of shows throughout the city during WrestleMania weekend. Last year, I had like a half dozen interviews, and I was at all different types of shows from sun up to sundown. And this year it'll be the same. I'll be in New York doing the same coverage from Thursday, and I get back. I fly back. Right. I fly back Monday morning, so that's typically my schedule.
Yep. I'm glad Vince didn't get to stop all the wrestling.
Yeah.
He wanted to stop all that, and all them was events in the cities he would do WrestleMania in.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel as though it's kind of like the WrestleMania is the meat, and the wrestling is the all the other stuff is the potatoes, and the vegetables and the dessert. I mean, it's a great circus-like atmosphere, like you said. You can see wrestling, and that's one thing that smartened me up to why wrestling wasn't dead or whatever died. When I was in Texas, I seen it just on every level, like you talked about, even all the way to the stadium. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what, this, and people love it's a niche, but the people that love it.
Absolutely.
And they're lifers. Everybody.
Yes.
Everybody. And
absolutely.
The guys in the ring and the people watching the matches.
Yep.
They're lifers in wrestling, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yep, 100% agree with that. And I would even say, and I strongly believe this, that WrestleMania, if it wasn't for WrestleMania, you would have a bunch of independent shows that wouldn't get as much money. I mean, independent shows get the bulk of their money during WrestleMania weekend, because there's independent shows from sun up to sundown. If it wasn't for WrestleMania,
that's right,
being the big event that everybody's going to on Sunday, nowadays there's a few shows that even start as early as Wednesday. Typically it's from Thursday to to Sunday, but you have independent shows from Wednesday throughout the entire week. You have all types of WrestleCon. You have WrestleCon. You have all different types of conventions. So if it wasn't for WrestleMania, the independent shows wouldn't get the bulk of their income. Because of that.
Right.
And WrestleMania has actually it's kind of been an adverse effect. It hasn't monopolized the market at all. WrestleMania has actually helped independent shows, get the bulk of their income.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
And get them established. Listen here, wrestling came from the old carnival days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling came from the carnival days, professional wrestling. Well, here's the deal. Back in the day, the circus had the great big tent, but before you walked up to the circus, you had the sideshows.
Yep. Yep.
So you walked up the midway to the circus, and you had all these barkers trying to get you to come in this tent to see the bearded lady, to see the elephant man, to see this and that, and that's the way. It's still that, but it's modern. It's the WrestleMania is the main tent, and the other ones are all the side shows.
Perfect
and you're exactly
example.
right.
Yep.
And it's made people stars, guys that would never been seen.
Yep.
That's independent. And I'll tell you another thing too, Chris. Years ago, if I wanted to have a wrestling show on television, on channels 4, 6, and 10, using Columbus stations, it would take me tons of money. It'd take me a lot of money to edit this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can do an interview in my living room, and people in Japan can see it 5 minutes after I've uploaded it. It's just changed the whole
Yep.
the whole thing in the world.
Yep.
You know, and
That's
it's great.
so true.
I don't. Yeah,
That is so
I'll tell you
true.
what. I'm not one of these people that, like I said, it's the progression and it's the evolution of the business. And I'm not one of those that want to hold on to the past. I know things have got to change, and it's just part of it.
Yep.
But also, I think like the basic things as a heel and a baby face, I don't think that should ever be taken out of the equation.
Amen.
But I just don't think should be a shade of gray, and I don't mean to overtalk, but just to say there should never be a shade. It's all right, maybe one character to be a shade of gray, but for the lines not to be drawn, I think that there should always be lines, and the reason being is, like say for example, people in Ohio love the Buckeyes, and they don't like that team from up north. And it's just a rivalry there, and it's set, and that's the way wrestling should be with the rivalries of here comes this guy, and man, we like him. And I'll tell you what. One time, Tommy Rogers and we were doing an interview, and Tommy said a curse word. It was H or something, I don't know. But Fritz Von Erich said, I don't ever want to hear you say anything like that again. He said, I'm going to tell you why. He said, could you imagine walking up to the most beautiful girl in the world and her passing gas?
No, I
he
can't.
said, you should never say anything like, but he was just using that as a thing. He said, you should never say that, you guys out there on that TV. And and it was true. I mean, and everything, but yeah, like I said, I'm excited for what the business has.
Yep.
You know, there's been times when we think it's over and gone, but then all of a sudden it comes like a dinosaur.
That's right.
Out of the,
out of the
it
cave.
keeps moving,
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, some real quick questions. You can answer them short. We got some flooded with questions in the chat room right now, and I'm gonna let you go. All right, so Multi's asking, who is your favorite active WWE wrestler?
Favorite active WWE wrestler?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I walked, my son Dylan has been an avid wrestling fan, and somebody has sent me some tapes 10 years ago, maybe longer, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I walked in front of the TV, and I wasn't watching it, and I said, you see that guy right there? It's probably 15 years ago. Like I said, I'm not good. I said, that guy named Bryan Danielson, he's going to be great. He's going to be unbelievable. I like his wrestling. I don't really, to be honest with you, Chris, I don't really follow enough to know that the guys. My son said they're really trying to bring back, and it seems to him like they're trying to bring back that type of wrestlers like we used to be. And like the Revival and guys like that.
Revivals, yeah.
Trying to do some stuff with them. Do what now?
Yeah, the Revival's a good point
Pardon
far
me?
as the old school tag team feel.
Yeah. But you know what? I don't think there's ever been as many great athletes, and I mean the bar's been lifted, and these guys are all tremendous. Every one of them. I mean, they're unbelievable to watch in the ring and stuff like that and everything. So there's just so many great guys that's in the wrestling business.
Sure.
That but Brian Daniels is Daniel Bryan is a guy that I really like, and I think the reason why is in AJ Styles and people like that, because they're more my size type guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm pulling for them, the underdog.
Yep. All right, real quick. Rob is asking, can you talk about the experience working with Stu Hart and all those Calgary guys? By the way, before you answer that question, right about less than an hour before the show, I had this guy on before, and he was one of my favorite guests. He's one of the most popular guests here on the show. I'm having my boy Black Bart. He's coming back on the show next week to do a Q&A, and we talked about you.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I got some stories with Bobby Fulton, and and so he said he wanted to tell you hi, and yes,
he's a great guy.
Yeah.
That guy could take a can of Copenhagen and put the whole can in his lip.
Wow. Yeah, that's that Texas chew.
He was in the ring tonight. Yeah, he was in the ring with us the night that Kevin Von Erich died, the only surviving Von Erich. Mm-hmm. He was in the ring with us the night that Kevin Von Erich died.
Mm. Yikes.
Did you know about that, Chris?
No.
Did you know about that?
Kevin, I thought Kevin was the only one that's still alive. Well, we were in a match. But let me tell you, he died. Let me tell you this. We were in a match at Fort Worth. It was me and Tommy and Bruiser Brody and Kevin Von Erich on one side of the ring. Mm-hmm.
It was Brian Adias, it was Black Bart, and two other guys, which I can't think of who it is right now, and I'm sorry. We were in the ring, and me and Bruiser Brody and Tommy. Huh?
You said Kevin? Because Kevin is still alive. Are you talking about Kerry?
Yeah, listen to me.
Okay, go ahead.
Kevin Von Erich, the barefooted Von Erich.
Yeah. Yep. He's a barefooted one.
Okay, so here it is, Chris. The one that survives died in the ring that night. So all of a sudden we're wrestling in the ring, and Bruiser Brody, we're at Fort Worth at the Will Rogers Coliseum taping the 2-hour show where they would play on Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruiser Brody looks at Tommy and I, and he says he don't know we're here. And we're watching him in the ring, and he's going around the ring. And, the Von Erichs were in phenomenal shape. Kevin and Kerry was, especially. I mean, David and Mike was built similar. Mike was shorter, but more raw bone type guy. But what happened? He got thrown into the corner, and when he did, he looked up at the sky, and I thought it was like he was going to show some fire, like double his fist up, and like come out there fighting. But his hands drew up like almost like a claw, like he was having some kind of seizure, and he fell down.
Oh, wow.
Well, when he did, we watched him turn purple in the ring. Well, about that time, people started snapping pictures of him down. Bruiser Brody started grabbing, I'm talking about newspaper people's cameras and everybody, and slamming them on the ground, right? And Tommy, Black Bart grabbed Tommy, shot him off. Tommy sunset flip back Bart, 1, 2, 3, and Kevin's laying there crumpled up in a mess. Tommy starts giving him mouth to mouth.
Wow.
And I'm screaming on the microphone, please, can somebody help us? Can somebody help us? He had peed himself and everything.
Wow.
And all of a sudden he started getting his collar back. And I mean, him and Tommy later joked about it in Hawaii, about his French kiss he got from Tommy Rogers on television and stuff like that. Yes, he is alive, but also something bad happened to him, and he was to me, he was dead. But me and Tommy Rogers, after that match, Chris, we drove. I'll never forget driving home. The radio wasn't on. Me and him neither talked. We about quit the business that night. I mean, to think you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, wow, that's really
But
interesting.
You never heard about that?
No. As much as I know about the pro wrestling business, how much I've researched I've done and studied a lot. I don't know. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, well, that's awesome that you're giving. That's terrible that it happened, but it's awesome that you're showing.
And then Fritz von Erich.
Yeah.
Do what now?
I said it's terrible that it happened, but I'm glad that you shared that with us. It's terrible that happened.
Yeah. But I mean, he's alive, and his sons are wrestling, and he's still around. And I seen him in Texas during that WrestleMania thing. But what I'm saying was, it was just unbelievable, to go through that. But then Fritz told Tommy, and this is nothing about that. He said, my son didn't really need any help, but I really believe Tommy is one of the reasons why Kevin Von Erich, which is the only surviving, of the family, left. And if it wouldn't, I don't think if it would have been for Tommy Rogers, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but if Kevin wouldn't be here. But listen to me. I'll say this also. I have nothing but respect for all the brothers of the Von Erichs and Fritz and Doris and them. I worked for them. They were great people. What a dynasty in professional wrestling. It was tragic, a lot of stuff that took place there. And, there's not very many guys that wrestled in that territory that's alive anymore. I mean, if people go back and look at it.
Nope.
And and I didn't want to say that in a bad light. I was just, you mentioned Black Bart. And he is a great guy, a great big guy, and what a tremendous talent in professional wrestling. And he is a character.
Yes, he
is. He
is
a character, but that's what brought that memory back.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you shared that.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you shared that memory. I had no clue. About that, and I'm glad you shared it.
Yeah. He's never talked about it.
No,
he's never mentioned it.
No, he never. And I've talked to him multiple times off air too on the phone, and no, he's never shared that.
Right.
Really interesting.
It was an 8-man tag.
Wow. Well,
and I'm not giving any bad light to the Von Erich family.
No. I didn't. My fans and I didn't. I surely didn't take it that way. I just think I just like to know, just stories like that, because I never knew that happened.
Yeah,
and that's really interesting. That's a really interesting story, and it's good to. I mean, he's alive today. At like 62 years old, 61, and so it had a good ending to it, because he's still alive. So
yes,
yeah.
But, you're right. In a great family, he's a great guy.
Yep.
And I wish his sons nothing but great things. I hear a lot of great things. I met them, and they're real humble. And that was the thing about the Von Erich brothers.
Yep.
They were all nice, humble people. I mean, they were like there wasn't no. They didn't have an air about them. They were like talking to your neighbor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't have any cockiness. They were just good guys.
Yep. All right, let's address a few of these questions quickly. Okay, so talk about your experience working with Stu Hart and all the Calgary guys.
Right. I'll never forget, Chris. I had broke in the wrestling business, and I had got a chance to go to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and wrestle for Stu Hart. And when I got up there, there was Brett was wrestling, just started. Brett was wrestling. Bruce and Keith was wrestling, and Owen was a little 10, 11-year-old boy running around in the dressing room. And they had guys. What was great about that, they had guys from Japan wrestling there, guys from England, guys from all over the world was wrestling there. One in particular was a young guy by the name of Dynamite Kid. And also they had heels there, Angel Acevita, which was the Cuban assassin, Bobby Bass, and Goldie Rogers. But Dynamite Kid, he was unbelievable to watch in the ring. He would go out there and wrestle and do diving headbutts off the top rope out to the floor. He'd come back to the dressing room. He would do 1,000 Hindu squats. The guy was a machine.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. Wow. And He was great. There was a guy in there by the name of John Foley that was there.
Mm-hmm.
John Foley was a shooter and a hooker. You know what a shooter and a hooker is?
Yeah.
You know what a shooter is. You know a hooker. There's difference in shooting and hooking, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know there's a difference in being a shooter and being a hooker in the ring?
I do. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
And
let the chat room know. Let the listeners know what the difference is.
Well, a shooter, say for example, like Rick Steiner told me a long time ago, he could shoot because he was an amateur wrestler,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't know nothing about hooking. And hooking is grabbing people and breaking their arms and knowing joint, manipulation and stuff like that.
Like Stu
Well,
Hart.
this guy was up in Calgary, Alberta. I was about 240, a thick guy back then. Other guys that was there was Lynn Denton and David Sierra, who was Fidel Sierra, who, but John Foley was a great hooker and a great shooter. And one night was in a hotel room and he wanted to shoot with me and I didn't know nothing about it. But he got on all fours and I was at 240 and when I dove on him, he had been drinking, so I carpet burned his face all up.
Oh.
So the next day when he went to go to the town, here he was, the great shooter, and his face was all carpet burned by an 18, 19-year-old boy, Bobby Fulton, which he wasn't very happy about or anything like that. But Stu Hart's territory, when I went there, I got a chance to wrestle Bret Hart and all those guys, and it was a great territory, and it was funny. And Jim Neidhart was there as well. Mm-hmm. And Tom Stanton, some guys are not with us any longer, but it was a great territory and great traditional wrestling. And the one thing about it, Chris, you didn't want to be there when Stu Hart would go, Chris, you're a pretty big old guy. Let me show you this. And he all of a sudden, if he grabbed you and hooked you, he'd say, fight. Yeah, I mean, he'd be screaming and this and that, right?
Yeah.
But it was a great opportunity.
Oh man, I you know what? It's so funny when you said that. I literally imagined my 6'1", 285-pound frame, big old muscular brawly guy being hooked by by Stu Hart.
Stu Hart.
That would.
Well, when I was there. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. I just imagine,
when we were there, Stu was in his 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he had a newspaper guy come to the dungeon that was doing a story on wrestling, and him and the Dynamite Kid was in there. So what they would do, they would have him work out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they would have, like, if they had 315 on the bench, they'd help the guy take it off the rack and spot him. But when he would get it down, they would let it lay across his throat, and he'd be fighting and struggling. So he would be worn out after the exercises. Then Stu would hook him.
Oh,
and
man.
Stu then would break his arm, and then he would say, "Let me tell you, you couldn't fare well with a 60-year-old. Imagine if one of my young wrestlers got a hold of you,
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of the Mongolian Stomper?
I have, absolutely.
Well, he broke in there in Calgary, and he would get stretched every day in the dungeon.
Oh, wow.
And finally, he was in a hold, and Stu would hold him and tell him to fight. If the guy was getting upper hand on Stu, Stu would say, "Excuse me, I think I hear Helen calling me," right, to get out of there. But he said one day he seen Stu, and Stu had him tied up like a pretzel, and he said he could just barely look out of the corner of his eye, and Stu had his tongue hanging out of his mouth like he was applying pressure, right? And he said he punched up as hard as he could up under the chin, and blood was flying out of Stu's mouth, and Stu was like a python. He would hook you in a hold, and he wouldn't let go,
Oh, wow. I've seen plenty of Stu videos and pictures, and I see that as I'm imagining that. All right, so let's address a few of these questions before we go. Just real quick. There's a couple Just a couple more questions. Okay, GSP's asking, this question may get asked to a lot of wrestlers, but who was your favorite to work in the ring with, as far as who made it easy for you to have a good match?
Right. I'll tell you what, Chris. I was blessed to be in an era where the guys in the main event were unbelievable to wrestle, but also the guys opening the card was true professionals. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what I'm saying by that?
Yep.
That
Absolutely.
you could get into the ring with the guy opening the card. And here's one thing that the independents have got to learn: know your role where you're at on the card.
Amen.
Just save some stuff for the main event guys. If you go out and do it all in the first match, and see, back then they knew how to do it all, but they knew their role and knew where they were on the card. But you know, I wrestled against guys, some of the great guys that I had matches with that had bigger names. Would have been like the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette. Both versions were tremendous to wrestle. Also, we had great matches with Sting and Eddie Gilbert. We had great matches with Jack Victory and John Tatum. We had a chance. The Bushwhackers which were the Sheepherders then. We had a series of matches with them that were just tremendous. They were the hardcore type matches in the barbed wire and stuff like that before it was kosher. And I got a chance to wrestle with them. But one guy that I had matches with that also wrestled for a short time as my brother was Eric Embry. And me and him had a program in San Antonio, Texas, and I really enjoyed my matches with him. And a lot of people in wrestling history might know him as a guy that worked for Fritz later on, that did a lot of stuff and kind of popped that territory after it kind of died. But he was tremendous to wrestle with. And then when I went to Japan, we wrestled Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy Smith, so many, the Malenko brothers, Joe and Dean Malenko.
Nice.
I mean, there's just so many. Chris, I could spend the next 3 days telling you the great guys, every one of them. We had an opportunity to get in that ring with. And, you know, the funny thing of it was, Chris, people think you practice or this and that. There was many times that I had never met a guy. And the Guerrero brothers, Chavo Guerrero, Senior, Chavo Classic, they called him, and Hector Guerrero. We had great matches with them and the Fabulous Ones and the Rock and Roll Express, because, you know, I was mostly a tag team. But I had a lot of great matches with a lot of great people, even Jake the Snake Roberts. I was just telling somebody last night, he was in World Class Wrestling, and he was kind of an underneath guy. Believe that or not, Jake the Snake Roberts was an underneath guy, but I always enjoyed my matches with Jake the Snake. He was incredible in the ring.
Yeah, certainly. Absolutely. All right, guys, last question. We'll cap it with this. Steve Austin regards you as his favorite tag team of all time. What is your relationship like with Steve?
Well, I finally got to meet him there in New Orleans, and it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
And that's about the only time I've really ever got a chance to talk to him or whatever. And but you know what, Chris? Him and The Rock were the last big guys over in WWE.
Yep.
If you think about it.
Yeah.
And how many years ago was that? I mean, you could walk down anywhere USA.
Austin retired in 03.
How many?
So Austin retired in 2003. WrestleMania 19 was his last match. So that was 16 years ago.
And you see, I think that's what Vince wants. He don't want any wrestler over. He just wants the WWE coming to town, like Barnum and Bailey. But look what happened to Barnum and Bailey. Yeah. They're out of business. But Steve Austin's a super great guy. I mean, he's a nice guy. He was such a humble, nice guy when I met him, and everything. I just, you know, I'm thankful for those guys that remembered us. And it's like I was when I was getting in the wrestling business or in the wrestling business and meeting my heroes. Mm-hmm. It's amazing, you know, Chris, for the opportunity of the people that I watched as a kid. You know, like in Ohio, there was a guy, the original Sheik, and I'll never forget, I was wrestling in Tennessee for Nick Gullison. He said, "Hey, boy, I need you to go down there and pick up the Sheik and take him to the towns this week." And I'm thinking, oh, my goodness. Here I'm getting to ride in the car with the Sheik, who Chris, people can't imagine, who owned this area in Detroit and everything and sold these arenas out, and he was a worldwide name before the internet.
Yep.
And, and everything. But going back to your question, Steve Austin's a super nice guy. I never really had any contact with him except for that.
Nice. He needs to bring you on his podcast, man. I think that would be fantastic. So,
yeah, he had Tommy Rogers one time on there a little bit before Tommy Rogers passed away. And he said Tommy Rogers said that he was living out of a little brown bottle.
Yeah, he was in Hawaii when he passed.
And then Tommy Rogers. Yeah, he was. Yeah. And you know what, Chris? He didn't. People said he committed suicide. He choked on a Little Debbie cake.
Oh, really?
He regurgitated.
Wow.
And I mean, I hate to say that, but it's just, I hate it when people tell me, when people say he killed himself. He didn't kill himself. And I'll tell you what, Chris, that guy was a tremendous athlete. Tommy Rogers.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was unbelievable in the ring. He was really good.
Yeah, he was, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'll give you the credit. I'll give you credit too. I think both of you together was. I mean, you were one of my favorite tag teams growing up, the Fantastics. I was a huge fan of the Fantastics. I totally marked out when y'all won the United States Tag Team Championships in the NWA. And so,
thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
That means a lot. Thank you, sir.
I love the Fantastics. I personally think the Fantastics is one of the best just pure baby face tag teams of all time. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot, Chris.
Should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
That means a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, go ahead and plug your show, man. You got a big show coming up in a couple of weekends. Let the listeners know about them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, March the 16th in Huntington High School, right outside of Chillicothe, Ohio. People can go to WCPBTW. That's a big mouthful. It's the acronym for World Classic Professional Big Time Wrestling. And it's going to take place Saturday, March the 16th. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's making a rare South Central Ohio appearance. The Honky Tonk Man. Him and the Honky Tonk Man's going to be in the same building. I don't know what's going to happen then. They may have they may have to relive some magic moments of the past there.
Yeah.
We've got the Mouth of the South. Jimmy Hart's going to be there too.
Nice.
Ricky Morton of Rock and Roll Express. Him and I are going to team up in a special match. It's a fundraiser for the Huntington area Little League and everything, because you know what, brother, we're just around the corner from baseball season coming up. I mean, and they're doing. How important is it to keep these kids busy? Get them something to do instead of finding bad things to do.
Amen.
So get them out there on them ball fields. Get them out there. Get them involved in sports, all these other activities and stuff. I try to encourage these kids to stay in school and everything because, listen to me, it's a dark world out there, Chris, as you and I know.
Mm-hmm.
We run into it every day and see people that make the wrong decisions.
Yep.
And everything comes down to a decision, ultimately, in everything. But I hope that everybody on Saturday, March the 16th, it's worth driving hundreds of miles to see. Right there outside of Chillicothe, Ohio, the Ohio's first capital. It's going to be Huntington High School Gym, big-time wrestling, a great big night of stars, thrills, WWE Hall of Famers, legends, and more. And, Chris, if you get a chance, this is your public invite, as always, to come out to the show.
Awesome,
it's always great seeing you, and bring your son.
Man, that would be great. Well, you said the 16th?
Of March.
March the 16th? Oh man, I'm gonna see
if you're available. Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna see what I can do, man, because that's a stacked lineup.
Yeah, I got you.
That's a stacked lineup, man.
I got you. It is a good one. It's gonna be a big one.
Yeah, Ricky Steamboat, Honky Tonk Man.
We're gonna have a great time.
Jimmy Hart. Wow, yeah, that's a stacked lineup, man.
Yep.
Yeah, that's big.
Ricky Morton, Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah, Ricky Morton.
Shane Douglas, the franchise.
The franchise.
Myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. It's gonna. It's going to be a big night in South Central Ohio, and like I said, we're looking forward to a big thing. And hey, may God continue to bless you, Chris, with your podcast and in your life. And you recently received your doctorate, if I'm not mistaken. I follow you on Facebook. Is that right? Or
almost. I'm in my PhD.
You working towards that?
Yep, working my dissertation, and
I got
should
you,
be
brother.
all set by the fall. Yep.
Ain't that wonderful, man? God's good, isn't he, brother?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you being on the show, man. I apologize for keeping you longer than we discussed.
No.
But it's one of those
I got
things.
excited.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
It.
It's one of those things, man, that's just talking about some history, some wrestling history. It's hard to really confine that within a short amount of time, man. You were spitting some historical knowledge tonight, Bobby, and I always enjoy it, man.
Yes, sir. God bless you. Thank you, Chris.
You as well, Bobby.
Wish you nothing but great things. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, man. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bobby Fulton, talking about Bobby Lashley. Move over, Bobby Lashley. I'm gonna be the Leo Rush to this one here. My man, Bobby Fulton. Bobby. My man, Bobby Fulton. Man, just a great guy, man. And I'm pleased to be his friend over the past 2 years. And we've talked a bunch of times, man. And so it's crazy that he's only been on the show 3 times. As much as we converse, he's only been on the show 3 times. But prayerfully, we'll get him back on, man. And I really enjoyed it. Just he's been on the show for the past hour, and we had to cut that because there was so much more to talk about, man. I love having those conversations with just historical just legends in the business. He's been competing for over 40 years, and World Classic Professional Big Time Wrestling. Check him out. I've been to plenty of his shows. For some reason, I think I got something planned for the 16th, but I might have to scoot that over because that is a stacked lineup. I might have to go and do some adjustments to my schedule to make that happen. So, thank you, Bobby. I appreciate you, man. Maltese right out the gate is asking, how am I? I'm doing well, man. As Bobby was saying, man, just working on my doctorate, as you know, as I've made known on the show here. Yeah, man, just my days are quite tiring, but my days typically are about 18 to 19 hours long. Yeah, about 19 hours long is typically my days. But yeah, am I gym sore? Yes. Yes, I am. I love lifting weights, man, and I am back at it, man. Back lifting heavy. I'm lifting some heavy hours, lifting some heavy weights again. As you all know, I had major back surgery last April. I had spinal fusion. L4S1. Had to fuse. Had to fuse my L4 and S1, and I was a personal trainer. I was a personal trainer for 10 years, from about 06 to 16. And so I been so used to working out for the past. I really started working out heavily probably about 05. 05 is when I really started working out heavily. So for the past 14 years, I've been so used to working out, and man, it's last year was really tough for me just mentally. I was happy that my back relief was got a lot better. But at the same time, it was really tough for me mentally, just as far as not being able. There was a 6-month time where I couldn't even hold my newborn daughter, who's 15 months now. I was on a 25-pound weight restriction. It was 10 pounds, and it went up to 25 pounds. And so for the first 6 months, I couldn't hold my daughter for 6 months. When my daughter was born, I was she was 5 months before I went to surgery, just about 5 months old. And so from 5 months to 11 months, I couldn't hold her. I held her in the bed, but I couldn't like pick her up and hold her because I was on restrictions. So that was tough. And then I couldn't work out. So it was really tough just mentally not being able to work out. It was even tougher not being able to pick up my daughter. But this has been there were some really good things that happened last year as a whole. 2018 as a whole was one of my best years ever, but there was a lot of mental just hurdles going through my surgery. But 2019 has been even better than 2018 all the way, all around. I'm back for the past couple months. I'm back at it, working out like a crazy man in the gym. My typical workouts is 30 to 35 minutes of cardio and then weights. So I've been killing it again in the lifting, but my doctor said I still can't do squats. So I used to do 820-pound leg presses. And so I was like, hey, doc, so when can I get back to the 820-pound leg press? And he was like, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, but my hope is that I'm actually starting rehab again soon to build up my core strength, because I still get real stiff. Like daily, my back gets really stiff when I get out the bed or get out the couch or stuff. It still gets stiff, but just so I'm rehabbing that. My hope is that I can get up there and eventually get back up there. I missed my 820-pound squats, so I actually think I might have a. I think I might have a video of that. I have to find it. That might be on my Facebook. I can play it for you guys and show it, but it'll take me too long to try to find it when I was actually lifting, leg pressing 820 pounds. So let's see me go against Mark Henry is what Mo said. Mark Henry is about 100 pounds. He's about 130, 120 pounds heavier than I am. So strength-wise, I'm a very strong guy. I'm a very strong guy. I do my flies. I usually do 250-pound flies, and then about 220 or so pound presses. I do 12 reps of 250-pound flies. And that's just, I could do more, but that's the machine that the fly machine, that's it caps out at 250. So if I can do 12, if I can do a set of 12, that's definitely not my max. So if you can max out, if I can do 12 or 250, I probably max out about 400 or so. But Mark Henry's been doing that. Mark Henry's been doing it for a while. He's been bodybuilding for a while. So, Mark Henry's the man when it comes to the strongest man. I'm gonna put him over when it comes to that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me address a few of these Ask Chris questions before I bring on my guy, the co-host with the most. Rob is asking, I'm going to ask the burning question everybody wants answered. Why do female wrestlers always enter the ring going under the middle rope? Fantastic question, Rob West. Because they are delicate, like Lacey Evans, okay? They don't want to go over the middle rope because, it may cause some perverts to, think things that they're not supposed to. So They want to act like a lady, like Lacey Evans. Speaking of Lacey Evans, we'll get to Lacey Evans and how I'm totally not sold on Lacey Evans. All right, so I'm going to address a few of these Ask Chris questions. But before then, ladies and gentlemen, co-host with the most, Evan Tech Proud. How are you tonight, sir?
What's going on, brother? How you feeling? Good to be here live.
Doing well, man.
Can y'all hear me fine?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you great. Absolutely.
Good to have the great brother Bobby.
That's right.
Brother Bobby right. Fulton, as always.
Absolutely. And he'll probably watch this. So I'm looking at the chat now, and GHP saluted you, Bobby. So salute from GHP. Sports Huddle also said thanks. Multi said thanks. Zed. Bunch of cool people here. Hashtag thank you Bobby Fulton from Acer. So good stuff. Lots of love going on here from Bobby, my man. Bobby Fulton. Mahmoud is asking what grades do I give both shows this week, SmackDown and Raw. Man, you know that's a segment, so we'll save that. Mo said Mo saw pictures from me at the gym. I'd imagine either Twitter or IG. I did put a couple pics up. That is correct. Thank you, Multi. Multi says, "Hope I'm doing better." I am doing better, man. I'm doing so much better. The surgery was definitely a success. That's for sure. Because it was, man. I've had back problems since like '95. So 24 years, and so it's been tough. It's been really tough, but the surgery helped a lot. It's definitely not 100%, but much less relief, much more relief, much less pain than when I've been, experiencing the past 20 years. So God is good. All right, guys. Salute to everybody who is in the chat right now. Appreciate y'all. Cool. I'm seeing some really cool comments here. Somebody said hit him with something. Oh goodness, I just passed it. Hit him with the side chest. the side chest pose. In my Leo Russ voice. Hit him with the side chest pose. That's hilarious. I have not watched Mark Henry documentary yet. My plan was to watch it tomorrow. Just my schedule is so daggone swamped, man. I do want to watch that as soon as possible. Zed is asking X Chris will interview Kofi Kingston's friends Mo and Mentum. I'm working on that now, trying to get them on the show ASAP. Speaking of that, not a fan. I'm not a fan of Kofi Kingston going against Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. I hope they don't switch the title on Fastlane. That would be, to me, that would be a petty, a very, very petty move by Vince McMahon. If that's done, I just, that would be petty. So petty. If he wins on a minor pay-per-view, this right now, Kofi Kingston is the 2019's version of the 2014 Daniel Bryan. They need to capitalize on it. They let Daniel Bryan win the title at Mania at the main event. They let him win the main event of WrestleMania. They need to let Kofi Kingston do the same thing. New Orleans, the Superdome, or the Silverdome, I should say. But the Superdome, they went bananas when Daniel Bryan won. I think it was slightly snubbed. I think the feeling was snubbed by Taker losing his streak. I think if Taker would have won, I think it would have helped just the overall feel of that night, and I think it would have helped just with the overall energy and the aura. But I do think that Daniel Bryan winning at the end helped just get rid of that really just it was just an eerie, just a petrified feeling that was going on when the streak was broken. So I still don't think the streak should have been broken. Until then, I think Roman Reigns beating Taker was a good call. And I've said this before, so I'm not going to go into it. I think it was a good call for a month because when Braun Strowman beat up Roman Reigns like weeks after he beat Taker, he beat Taker. I think that was a terrible call. Now, granted, Roman Reigns helped out Braun Strowman when they feuded. I think if it wasn't for Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman wouldn't have gotten that natural babyface pops that he did. I mean, he really, people want to crap on Roman Reigns, but Roman Reigns really, really helped out Braun Strowman's career, like big time. But I think it was too quick to have Roman Reigns get beat up like that. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. But I think Kofi Kingston's he's the guy, man. I do. I definitely think that, you wanna, you gotta strike while the iron's hot, man. Have him win at Mania. GSP, Slim K seems like it would mesh well with SummerSlam. Do you think that would be a good time to do more brackets? Yes, I think that is correct. I agree. Slim Cade, maybe even maybe I'll do a PNP Hall of Fame doing Slim Cade, doing the whole Slim Cade.
Slim Cade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cross the line.
When did I think we determined July? Did we determine July as the day for the month for Slim Cade? Yeah.
July.
Yep, July. Okay.
Yeah, July.
So maybe that would be a good time for the PNP Hall of Fame then. So,
we gotta bring in Dawn West though. We gotta have Dawn West.
Yes.
The Pele. Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding.
I need to get
a voiceover.
I need to get a voice clip from Dawn West. I know some people who work at Impact Wrestling. I need someone who I'm gonna text someone. Matter of fact, I'm gonna text someone who currently works at Impact Wrestling right now, and I'm gonna say, next time you see Don West, can you put your phone by him and have him cut me a promo about the Pancakes of Power Slam show, so I can use it as a voice clip. I'm actually as we're speaking, I'm gonna text. Actually, as you're speaking, Evan, I'm gonna text a top person here. And that's funny. I did this during Elimination Chamber too. I texted a couple people I met that were actually backstage. One of them actually was on the card, and texted me he texted me right before he came out on screen.
Don't you love?
And yeah, it was.
Love that.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then the one was backstage, giving me some information, and it was pretty cool. It was some conversation we had during the live reaction stream that I had about getting permission from to get tattoos from the WWE, and I texted two people who were backstage. Get permission too. Yeah, and then one former WWE person texted me afterwards, like not too far from when the show ended, from the pay-per-view ended, and then he told me, yes, you do have to have permission to get new tattoos. Yep. In the WWE. So very interesting stuff. The person. I sent the text
doing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I sent a text during the pay-per-view about if they were going to replace Jericho doing the doing the video for Abyss.
That's a good one.
It's Abyss is there.
That's a good one.
That's
a good one. That's really good.
He said, "Don't get me started."
Absolutely.
Let's get Abyss. Gregory Helms. Replacing Gregory Helms. Shout out to my man, my good buddy, and he's a good friend of yours too, Gregory Helms, to the WWE.
Yeah, he's an agent now. That's good stuff, man. Yep. I've had
So that means we get to see him run out and break up fights.
Yeah, there you go. Try to choke slam people 2 times bigger than he is. Yeah. All right, so let's get to the headlines. I'll let you address the Jimmy. I'll let you do the Elimination Chamber review. I have a complete live reaction stream on the Crave Wrestling channel. So I'll let you give your thoughts on the Elimination Chamber. So let's get these headlines. Here we go. Real quick, Momoto's asking if Daniel Bryan retains and head to Mania, who would you want Daniel Bryan to face? Kofi Kingston. I mean, I think that it should be some type of disqualification finish. Do a rematch at Mania. I think you gotta do it, man. You can't. People. The hashtag isn't Kofi Fastlane. It's Kofi Mania. Like you have to do the moment at WrestleMania. It's I don't know. Maybe they can do a multi-person. Maybe you can have more people as the weeks progress. More people wanting to be in the match, so you can have like a 6-person match or something like that, or something, or 4-person triple threat, something. But at the end of the day, I want to see Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan. Singles match, WrestleMania. That's what it should be. So, all right.
And it needs a main event.
Yeah, I agree.
It needs the main event.
I agree.
Mania.
I think it's hotter than anything else right now.
GHP, I'm sure he's the one that's up there with us in knowledge. GHP or Multi. When was the last time SmackDown actually main evented a WrestleMania? We talk about this during the pay-per-view, Chris.
Taker and Edge, right?
I only remember they taking Edge at 24?
23? 3? Yeah, Taker and Edge was 23, I believe.
23? No, there's one in Florida.
I think Taker and Batista was 24, wasn't it? Or it might have been the other way.
It was in Florida, I know that much.
Okay.
It was Flair's retirement match.
Because 22 was Mark
24.
Henry. Mark Henry. 20 was Flair.
Batista was
right?
24.
20 was
right.
Flair. 21 was Orton. 22
was
22
was Henry.
Was Mark Henry, the casket match. 23 was Edge.
23 was Batista.
Or was it 23?
Or was it 23 is Batista.
23 Batista and then 24 Edge?
24, yeah, because it was at the Orange Bowl in Florida.
Got it. The 20, okay.
Because our boy, Jimmy, gosh, what's our buddy name? Referee.
Marty Elias?
I see his face. Marty. Yeah, Marty was the ref, I think.
Okay.
For that match.
Let me verify.
Or was it Corderas?
It might have been the
one of our two buddies.
Got it. Let me check and see. So 23 was in Detroit, and that was the Trump and that was the Battle of the Billionaires.
Yeah. Yeah. We love you, Bobby.
Yeah, and that was probably the biggest spot. That was probably the biggest moment in Bobby Lashley's career, though. That was his biggest spot.
Yeah.
Taker won against 23. Taker won against Batista at 23. Yep. So Edge was 24 then. So yep, good stuff. 24 was in. That was what? That was Citrus Bowl, wasn't it?
Citrus Bowl. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Florida. It was Miami.
Miami.
Am I right? Was it Miami?
Orlando. Citrus Bowl in Orlando. Yeah.
Orlando.
Miami.
Okay.
Miami was the Rock.
Right, same arena we was in.
Miami was the Rock. That was
29.
28 or 29.
29? 28? 28.
Because they went against each other at 28 and 29. 20.
Yeah.
20. Might have been 29. Miami was like the second one, I think. 28. I don't remember 28. I got
29 was Miami, because that's when The Rock won. Yeah,
Yeah.
so Orlando was
Well,
2008, though, Malty.
28. Rock won at 28, and then he lost at 29, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Because
That's
he
right.
passed. He
20
passed
was
the
Miami.
baton. Yeah. Let me try. Okay, so 27 was Atlanta. That was when That was when The Rock was hosting, and then 28 was Miami. And then 29 was MetLife. Yep, that was where it's going to be at this year.
MetLife, yeah.
Yeah, East Rutherford. Yep.
MetLife.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's where it's going to be
With
at
the
this
hot
year.
ring.
Yeah. All right. What's your thoughts on EC?
Summing up, two things. Elimination Chamber basically is Becky Lynch and Kofi. Everything else was just it's the filler. Is Becky Lynch coming out doing her, basically similar to Austin, coming out the heel, but everyone's loving her. And the Elimination Chamber, the end with Kofi. That's the Elimination Chamber to me. Yeah, agreed. With those two things, A. You include everything else, goes down to about a C+. Everything else was just okay. The tag title, the women's tag title chamber was okay. Everything that seemed so, I don't know, default and just mundane. Beside those two things, I mean, it wasn't a bad pay-per-view, but Becky saved it. Between Becky and the Elimination Chamber main event, that made Elimination Chamber worth it. If you exclude them, it just was like a okay episode of Raw.
Of Raw. Yeah, I said C+ for most of it. Yeah, I said C+ for most of it, and then I think I brought it up to B. During the Kofi thing, I think the Kofi spot really helped just the whole thing. But yeah, yeah, that was pretty much it. Finn winning was, I knew that was happening. I also said this, which I hope does happen. I do want to see Drew, Bobby Lashley, and Corbin. Although they didn't continue, Bobby Lashley beat up Corbin on Elimination Chamber, but they didn't continue that on Raw. That was weird. They just did a regular tables match. They didn't continue that on Raw. I thought that was really weird. But I want to see them do that with. I want to see the Wyatt family come back. I want to see Harper. I want to see Harper, Bray, and Strowman against Drew, Lashley, and Corbin. That would be my that would be something I would want for elimination for WrestleMania. Jimmy Uso was arrested in Detroit, and he basically Naomi was driving. From what I heard, the traffic, Detroit traffic's not very good. I think even it was said on the show last week by Wild Boy, who lives in Detroit. The roads and the traffic is not good. And yeah, I mean, driving down a one-way street the wrong way and got pulled over for that, of course. But the issue came when there was reeking of alcohol, what the report was saying from TMZ. And cop pulls Naomi out, and as they were talking, Jimmy comes out, pulls his coat, his jacket and shirt off. Of course, that caused some ruckus, some uproar. Police officer pulls out his taser in fear of feeling threatened, and but a couple days later, they won the tag team titles. So that was quite odd to me from a PR standpoint. That just, I don't know. I love the Usos. I think Naomi's my favorite. My favorite women's wrestler, and Usos is a fantastic tag team, one of the best of the decade. But just a weird PR move to me that, yeah. So by the way, one of our wrestlers got arrested for obstruction and what was it? Disorderly conduct. And hey, they're a tag team champions. They won the titles right after the incident, and I think because Jay got arrested too in early 2018, and they won the titles right after that.
He did.
So that was really weird to me. Yeah. GHP said, just like Randy Orton, the Usos can do no wrong in Vince's eyes. Yeah. So you got to get arrested to get the title, is what I was saying. Kofi Kingston needs to get arrested so he can become WWE champion. He needs to get arrested like Mania weekend. He needs to get arrested in Brooklyn, and so he can win the title. Tammy's asking, didn't Jeff Hardy become U.S. champ shortly after his DUI? I think that's a good point too, because he won right after like the day of the lottery, the lottery. Let me check when he was arrested, because he became U.S. champ during the Superstar Shakeup. He beat Jinder Mahal, I believe. Let's see, 2018. So Jeff Hardy was arrested for the DUI. Trying to find that info now. March the 12th. Okay. Yeah. March the 12th, 2018. And he won the title about a month later. Won the U.S. title about a month later. So I think you've got a trend here. Maltese asking, Axe Evan, what do you think about Jimmy Uso getting sent to the Uso Penitentiary? What are your thoughts on Jimmy getting? Yeah, he got
it worked
sent
out.
To his, he got sent to his own penitentiary.
It's politics. He did.
Yeah,
it's politics, man.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a Samoan in a Samoan line, you can do no wrong.
You can't.
Look at Nia Jax.
That's right. You can do no
can
wrong.
Do no
Loose.
wrong. we could literally almost kill you in the ring, drop you on your head, botch segments, get arrested.
Give you concussions.
Don't matter. Concussions, right? Miss your keys. You can do no wrong. It's politics in jail. Yeah, that's how it is, brother. Let it have been one of us, a black brother. Let it be somebody low in the totem pole, any race. They would have got axed.
Yeah.
They would have lost. If you want to increase in this company, you got to get arrested. I mean, look at Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Iron Sheik. Look at the famous story of that. They didn't get promoted.
Yeah. So the top.
And that's true.
The top.
GHP, you're right.
The top TNA star got back with me. Let's see here. He texted me back. So I'm trying to get Don West to get a voiceover for my show. I really want this to happen. So I'm going back and forth with the top Impact Wrestling guy right now, and I'm trying to get Don West to be on my show, or to get that voiceover for me.
We all, every time we come out, AJ Styles match, guys, this is something me and my buddies do. From now on, any AJ Styles match, all of my buddies, even some people in the business, we commentated as if Don West was. Oh my gosh, the Chamber, the Pele, you gotta be kidding.
The business.
This is great.
This
is awesome.
Oh, okay, Maltese.
Don West and Dusty Rhodes.
Rob is saying, breaking news, Ty Dillinger revealed on his Instagram that he asked for his release tonight at SmackDown Live. WWE has yet to answer its request. Do you have a link for that? Can you post a link for that, Rob? I was waiting for this to happen. Maltese asking, ask Chris, what do you think about the allegation of Corey Graves sleeping with Carmella? Oh boy. Okay. So Sports Huddle said wrestling just posted it. So not so breaking news, but breaking news on the show. We don't have much time, so let's go. Let's move on. We really don't have much time, but I will address it. Listen. This is what I texted to a colleague. Okay. I said, listen. I think, I personally, and I'm going to say it because this is what I believe. I think you really got to know Jesus working in the WWE, because the temptation is heavy. And it's crazy that Temptation Island, which I think that show is the devil, it comes on right after SmackDown, and it's like that's par for the course when it comes to just the temptation that comes with so Don West doesn't even work for Impact anymore. So according to my Impact Wrestling source, one of the top Impact Wrestling stars right now, Don West doesn't even work for TNA for Impact anymore. Interesting. Yeah. I said, listen, you gotta know Jesus, because there's a lot of temptation that comes with working in the WWE. You're away from your family a lot. You spend most time with half-naked women. You know what I mean? And yeah, you better know you some Jesus, because man, it is not easy. From what I've heard from people who have experienced that. Yeah, Zed, hard times. That's right, baby. Hard times, BBL.
They say in church, keep me near the cross.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, and as we know, brother, we've been backstage. I've been to after parties, backstage with WWE and others. Gotta pray, or you better run like Joseph.
That's right, man. That's right. and the thing is, man, it's like the camaraderie, the the friendship, the relationship. Mm-hmm. It's really easy, man, to say, listen, I've been away from my family for a couple weeks on this tour, and let's be honest, it's a PG show. Everybody knows I'm a committed Christian, but let's be but I mean, I'm not going to say anything wrong, but people get horny. You know what I mean? That's in the pro wrestling industry.
People feel froggy.
They feel froggy, and they want to jump. And you got somebody who is a single person in the backstage. It's not easy. So you better be
brother. We've been in manias together for years. Yeah. Together, you and I done had to look at each other.
Listen.
Like, hey.
Yeah.
Look,
Yep.
Yeah, and fans, I'm telling you, and Featherstone, happily married man, beautiful family. Yep. I'll be married soon. Bill, my lovely woman, you got to meet her at Featherstone, and then you open. My woman knows, she laugh and joke. Oh, she looks attractive. She will joke about it, but we know they ain't there all the time.
Right.
And even you and I got to say, all right, let's pray.
Yep. That's why I can't, listen, man, I said I can't imagine myself working for the WWE up the road. So I just can't. I can imagine doing that. First of all, My wife is very clingy, and that's not a bad thing. She's a very clingy, like she's
not clingy,
she
man.
loves she
loves
she will
her
admit.
husband.
I mean, no, I'm saying that's not a bad thing. Like, you know, a lot of people desire their wives to be clingy. Like, she loves her husband.
Oh yeah,
And you know, and that's
yeah,
great.
she does.
That's you know, praise God for that. I love that. You know, but you know, and I just being on the road up and down. You know, just every week. First of all, my wife would be like, "No, listen, babe, you got to get home. Like, you got to get home. You've been away for too long, baby." and then that on top of like wanting that love, wanting that affection, on top of you got this, you know, attractive person backstage saying, "Oh man, that was a good match. Let me go ahead and disrobe and get in the shower." I'm like, "Oh, get the heck out from my face. You did that on purpose." You're like, "Quit playing." And I can imagine stuff like that happening.
You know,
I can imagine stuff like that happening in the WWE locker room. You have, you know, men and women don't share locker rooms, but everybody's backstage, and I'm sure there's like all types of nightgowns.
I've seen it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's nothing wrong. Queen Featherstone, shout out to you. And on the road, we all know anybody in any industry, entertainment, that travel, us as covering this business, we all have to make that call. Mm-hmm. When you call your wife, fiance, "Hey babe, how's you doing?"
Yep.
How's the kid?
You got to check in. Listen, I've been married for almost 9 years. You got to check in.
You got to check in.
You see this? You see that right there? That's 9 years, baby. You got to check in.
Right. Y'all can't see me, but yeah, 9 years. You got to check in, man. And I'll tell you, real funny story being real, I had a female wrestler who's on TV now, not saying any names, not saying promotion. She saw me, hey, and she slapped my butt. Not once, but she snuck and did it again when she left.
And just imagine doing that all the time with someone who's active and as flirty as people. Like, I know some stories. There are some flirtatious women in the WWE right now that I can say names, but I won't do it.
If you will.
Yeah, there are some flirtatious people that I know.
Impact.
And Impact too, definitely. But specifically WWE, I can tell you some names of people who are very flirtatious, who is known as being, you know, kind of. They're
going to test you.
Kind of, yes. Temptation Island, WWE style.
They're going to test it.
Yeah. But you know, you got to listen. The best way to rid yourself from that is to check in, baby. Check in. You see that? You got to check in. So
check in.
That's right. Hashtag
Make
check
that
in.
Call.
That's right. Zed said hashtag real talk with Chris and Evan. I love it. Love it. All right, we got like 5 minutes left, so let's zoom through these. So we'll talk about Lucha Underground. PJ Black talked about the uncertainty of Lucha Underground. You know, I'll get more into it probably next week if we have some time, but it's a stalemate. MGM and El Rey. It's a stalemate between them. So doesn't seem like we'll see much of that going on here soon, which is sad because I think it was a great alternative product. All right, give me your oh wow boy, there you go. You asked me again, and I will answer the question. Because you asked me again and you remembered it. So I will ask me that question. I will answer that question. Yeah, I hear you, Multi. All right. So let's get to the flavor of the week. So I'll answer that question, Wild Boy, right afterwards.
It is now time for the flavor of the week.
All right. So Wild Boy is asking, who does the voice for flavor of the week? It is now time for the flavor of the week. Me. It was me, Monty. It was me, Wild Boy. It was me all along. You all bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. That is hilarious. Yeah, so let me get back to my taker. Zed says fool. Worked again, says Zed. Oh, I love it, Rob. Rob said better pay off than the Vince angle. As a matter of fact, that gets an applause. That one gets an applause, ladies and gentlemen. Very much. And you see how I did it? You see? That's the wrestling game, ladies and gentlemen. A cliffhanger, had to wait a whole week. You can come back to me next week, still cliffhanging, and then boom! There it is. Dropped it like nobody's business. Good stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk. Wild Boy said, "I woke up in time for this." I love it. All right, so let's head home. Talk about some Taker matches. What years are we supposed to be on? What'd I say?
09,
2009 to 2013. Okay.
2009 to 13.
Let's see. 2009. Where did we go against 2009? We'll find that out. Brandon said, that's hilarious. Gimbo said years of buildup. That's right. Years of buildup. You were trying to find out this whole time who was the voice behind the flavor of the week promo. It was me. You all bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. This podcast is so entertaining and funny. You know why it's funny? Matter of fact, I haven't played this voiceover for a while. I haven't played this clip for a while. I gotta do it. I got it. I gotta do it, ladies and gentlemen. You know why it's entertaining? It's because of this.
I do it for you.
Hey, I do it for you, ladies and gentlemen. That's why. All right. All right, real quick. We literally got like 2 minutes left, so let's see this. I do it for you. So 2009 was Shawn Michaels. Okay, yeah, clearly the best WrestleMania match of all time, at least with Taker. One of the best, if not arguably the best of all time, other than Steamboat and Savage. Maybe edges it a little bit, maybe, but that match was amazing. Yeah, this is random, but if you ever want a good laugh, watch all the WrestleMania 5 entrances and see how many people fall on that final step. You see what I mean? Pretty fast. I want to do that.
Trying to follow that.
Tweet me, Rob. Remind me to do that. Possible to do a Q&A with Oksana. Robert's Multi's asking, ask Chris. I actually talked to Oksana a couple of years ago, and she actually agreed to be on the show, but never got back with her. And then 2010 was amazing too. I think that was the only time, the first time. I think it was the first time I actually wanted Taker to lose. Was that year? I wanted Michaels to beat Taker. I didn't want Michaels to retire. and then Triple H, 2011 and 2012. I think
2012 was better.
Yeah, 2012 was better. That was 20-0, first of all, and I think that was the time. And I still say this. I'm still very adamant about this. I think that's the year that I think 19-0, 2011 was Ain't No Grave, right? There ain't no grave. Hold my
Yeah,
body
with the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. Well, Hell in a
Well,
Cell
he
was
had
28. Ain't No
yeah.
Grave was.
That was a great match.
Yeah.
The emotion.
Man, I think, and I still stand by this. I think that should have been the last match in Taker's WWE career. I think I still
I agree.
There's nothing, and I talked about the Roman win, but there's nothing. There's nothing that was good enough to me that could top 28 for Taker to continue for the past, 6 years. He was there last year, so 6 years afterwards, I don't think there was anything better than 28. I still, till this day, I still believe he should have retired at 28. Because 2013 CM Punk. That was good for Punk, but Punk didn't even appreciate it. He wanted to be the main event match, so it was a good spot for Punk. It seemed like, from what I've heard, they put Punk in that spot to kind of give him a main event feel match, but Punk wanted to be in the main event, so. And plus, that match was over 20 minutes. It was a decent match. I always say I didn't like that match as much. But watching it back, it was okay. But it just the build-up was decent. But I think overall it was really a forgettable. It was really it really, to me, it personally showed that Taker it wasn't necessary for Taker to come back for that match. And
60 seconds.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel about it. So. Ladies and gentlemen, 360 episodes tonight. This has been a fun show because of the help of you guys. So now we got real talk so basically all the Bobby Fulton stories and the fact that you should check in with your spouse, very important. And also that I was the mastermind behind the voice.
It was me.
It was me all along. All right, y'all. It's been a pleasure. God bless you all. Until next week, enjoy your week of wrestling. God bless. As Kimbo said, this episode was
next
good.
Week.
And always remember, I do it for you. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Good night, guys.